Alright, I ran out of memory on the camera. I forgot to delete an old video. The last video, I'm not going to redo the last video. The last video was going to be about two companies. The Iron Snail, which I talked about in the last video, and Limmer Boots in Intervale, New Hampshire. Now, I ran out of memory, so rather than just delete the other one and redo it and all that other nonsense, I'm just gonna leave it how it is. You'll just have to put up with it running out of video and just come back into this video. So this video is gonna be just on the boots. So yeah. So what brings me to this a little bit is that the Iron Snail fellow, the young fellow who owns Iron Snail, who I talked about in the previous video, he went to Intervale, saw Adam and the rest of the crew up there, here in New England. He's in New Hampshire. Adam is with Limmer Boots. Okay, so he took it over from the Limmers. Now, but he did it right. He didn't just buy a name. He learned how to build the boots as an apprentice. Okay. Now, I had them rebuild my boots. Alright, I had them rebuild my boots. These are Zamberland boots. These are Sellas. They called them Sellas. They don't make these anymore. Zamberland doesn't make these anymore. Now, this is what we used to term as a Frankenstein boot for hiking back in the 70s. 60s and 70s, they used to call these Frankenstein boots because they're serious boots. They're heavy duty construction, Norwegian welt. They're heavy. They're not only heavy duty, but they're heavy boots. See that? Yeah. So you got these heavy duty Vibram Montana soles. You see how there's like 11 screws in there, right? In this heavy Montana sole. There's a new midsole. I had them basically redo the complete sole on these boots. Everything. From, the leather down. Because I completely wore out. I mean, these things were bad. When I sent them, they were bad. I had worn them so harshly and mercilessly. I mean, these boots from the leather up were fine. Italian made boot. The sole, complete trash, falling off, junk. They had put Vibram on there, but it's this thin eco crap, that so many companies are into these days. And I talked with them at Limmer. I said, look guys, I want some hardcore soles put back on these boots. Back like we had in the 70s. Mountaineering class, heavy duty, stuff built for extreme backpacking sort of stuff, because back then they made everything super overkill. That's what I want. And he's like, well, that's what we use on the Limmer, the regular Limmer boots, is we use the old hardcore old school Vibram Montana soles. He says, that's what we'll put on them. That's what you want. And I said, yeah, that's what I want. I said, I don't want nothing eco. Right? Nothing earth friendly or green or any kind of BS like that. I don't want none of that crap. I want something that's hardcore. Because there's so many places that said, well, we don't want you walking on our trails because of erosion. Yeah, like, 150,000 years of people walking in the same trail, we're going to reach the Earth's core, right? No. So I said, I want some real soles, old school stuff. So they took my old school boot with new school sole, and they threw away the new school sole and midsole. They threw all that crap out. Thanks, guys. So, and they put these man soles on here. That's right. Put these soles on here. These boots gain weight. They gain weight from the soles. But I am not worried about stomping through anything wearing these. Now, they offered to redo the insides of my boots because the insides they are worn. I mean, especially I think this one might have had more wear than this one. But I just glued it all back. I just glued it back. It wasn't so bad that I thought that they needed to rip everything out and redo the insides. I mean, this is a $500 boot back when I bought it, 500 and something bucks. And it was well worth it. I wore these things all over the place. And I had them resold them simply for the fact that I can rely on these boots to get me through thick and thin, right? Leather's still good. It's thick leather. It's a heavy duty boot. Now it's got really good heavy duty soles on it. Now you can't buy this boot no more. Just like so many other things. You can't buy it no more. Even if you did buy it, you'd have to get it resold anyway as soon as you got it. Otherwise you'd have that eco crap, sole on a good boot. Let me just put this out there for any boot company. Stop putting eco crap on your boots. If you make a good upper boot, why are you going to put trash on the bottom? Don't do it. If you're going to charge somebody $500 for a pair of boots, or even $1,000 for a pair of boots, and they're supposed to be good boots, do not put eco trash soles on your boots. Put real, old school, Vibram heavy duty soles. Not the modern crap. Now, I'm trying to be nice about this, but it's hard. Anyway, you'll say, well, why didn't you just buy a pair of Limmers? Well, for two reasons. One, you can't just buy a set, not a set of real Limmers. They have a house boot that they have made by Meindl in Germany that you could buy off the shelf. It looks just the same as the regular Limmer, but it's not made at Limmer. That's the thing. That's in the shank is different. The shank's different. They have a different shank, but everything else looks the same. Now you said, why are they getting them made at Meindl? Because number one, they hand make all their boots. Yvon Chouinard has a set of Limmers. You know that company Patagonia that makes trash bag jackets? Chouinard, back in the day, he had a set of Limmers made. They still got his outline of his feet at Limmer. Now, you say, well, why didn't you just have a set of Limmers? Well, I wasn't sure how much longer I was going to live at the time. So I thought, well, I'll just get these fixed, properly, and if there's some kind of issues that we have to go through and I have to have some heavy duty boots, then I got them. Now, Limmers are expensive. Even the ones that they have made through Mindel are expensive. I think that the regular Limmers are around $900. The Mindel set is around $700. It's only a couple $100 difference, but you're waiting 2 to 3 years for a pair of boots. I'm not saying that they're not worth it. They're obviously very good boots. They're very well thought of around the United States and around the world. But when I had these rebuilt in the sole, I wasn't sure how much longer I was going to live. And so I thought, well, I'll just get these rebuilt. I don't have time to be waiting around, you know, in line and all that. I don't have that luxury, right? So anyway, I ended up getting these resold. I ended up still being alive. I may go to Intervale this summer. I was thinking about it a few summers ago to go to Intervale, to go over to Intervale and see the guys there, but I didn't. But I like Limmers as much as anybody else. Now the thing is that, you know, I don't like the thread that they sew their boots together with, but it's just an aesthetic. It's just a visual thing. There's nothing, absolutely nothing wrong with anything that they use. It's all top notch, top shelf, top notch. There's Limmer sewing in here, obviously. Now they left some original sewing, and then there's the smaller thread that Limmer uses here. I like the thicker thread that they used in Italy. I just like the looks of it. It's just aesthetically, it's more appealing to me. I just like the chunky look to it. But it doesn't have anything to do with strength, because there are boots out there made by Limmer that are decades old and they never had any issues. That's the only thing I wish they would change. I talked with Adam about that a while back, and it obviously didn't make any impact because they're still doing everything exactly the same. Another thing is the Limmer, I would like to see a taller boot. They've got a couple of other different versions now of Limmer boots that they didn't used to have. They added to the lineup. There's 2 or 3 boots. There's the original, and then there's a couple of others. But what I would like to see is a version of the original that's like 10 inches. That's right. I'd like to see that. I've always liked to wear tall boots for certain applications. You know, I mean, keep in mind, anybody listening out there that may be in the boot industry, any kind of a military operation, like, you know, with the paratroopers and whatnot, you can't have these hooks. They have to be eyelets. That's because of shroud lines, okay? Now, if you got these on tight enough, you're probably not going to catch a shroud line on here, even in some kind of a freak accident. However, that's the reason why military boots aren't allowed to have these hooks. Alright? Let's keep that in mind. But I would recommend people look at Limmers. They've been around since 1919. They're not going anywhere that I could see. They're in good hands. There was another boot as well, but I'm not going to talk about it because I've never had a pair, and I probably never will have a pair, but it's a good boot. It was the first boot used on the Appalachian Trail. I can't remember what the brand is, but it's a famous boot. They're very well constructed also, but I can't remember the name. Anyway, it's terrible not being able to remember stuff. But yeah, so the last video was all about iron snail and the wool, and this video has been all about Limmer. I highly recommend that you look at Limmer as a possible long-term investment. Okay? Because a good boot is a long-term investment. Here's the thing, guys. This is what I have always said. You hear a lot of times about how an army marches on its stomach. But the thing is that footwear is incredibly, incredibly important. Socks and footwear. I wear darn tough mountaineering socks every day of the year. Every day. 24/7, 365. If I have to have a pair of socks on, I have a set of darn tough mountaineers. When I did my initial testing on them a number of years ago, I bought 3 or 4 sets. I think it was 3 sets of darn tough mountaineers, and I wore them for 4 years. And I never had a hole in them. I wore them every day for 4 years, rotating from a set of socks to a set of socks to a set of socks. I had 3 pairs. I couldn't wear them out. I got a set of their military socks here. Actually, I bought about 6 sets of their military socks. T4050, I think is what their designation is. I did wear those out. They're a little bit different makeup on the wool and other stuff. But those doggone mountaineering socks from Darn Tough, I have not put a hole, not one hole, in any of them. I don't remember what their secret ingredients are on their percentages for those socks. But I would encourage Darn Tough to never change that, that percentage of wool to whatever else they're putting in them. I almost think that there was freaking Kevlar in that, woven in that. I actually told them at one time, I said, if you ever take input from customers, I said the best thing that you could do would be to weave some Kevlar into the heels of your socks and the toes of your socks and whatnot. I mean, try to, weave that stuff in. Those doggone socks will probably never wear out, but, I'm getting to the point now where I'm thinking that they did put Kevlar in there because it looks like Kevlar, showing through some of the mountaineering socks that I have. There's sections in the heel where I think that that's Kevlar. That's Kevlar showing through. Maybe they put Kevlar in there and they're not telling nobody. It's like a secret ingredient. But the thing is that I got about 25 or 30 pairs of Darn Tough mountaineering socks, and I bought them in case I could never buy socks again. Or in case I could never swap them out again. In case there was never any more socks available, in other words. Yeah, Darn Tough Mountaineers. So get yourself a set of really hardcore boots. You get yourself some darn tough mountaineer socks. And you should be set for the end of the world. That's right. Anyway, I'm sorry I don't have a set of Limmers to show you. I don't own any. But I have heard about them all of my life. That's right. I've been familiar with Limmer boots since I was a boy. I'm probably going to try to get up to Intervale maybe this summer. I may try to get up there. You know, even if I go on a list and never get them, at least I'll be on the list, right? But, I don't know. I thought about just, you know, throwing down the money and just buying a set of their Mindel-made boots. But it's just not the same. In my opinion, it's just not the same. You know, I don't know. Anyway, I'm going to let you guys go because I've been talking too long. I made a couple of videos for you guys today. I was supposed to be in the field doing stuff today, but the weather turned crappy. I'm glad I didn't put tomatoes in yet because they were predicting that the weather would go in the 30s. You know, we're almost to June here. Anyway, I got some tomato trees to transplant. I got to do some more seeding and this and that. I was going to do that today. Probably end up Monday. Sometimes I get stuff in at the proper time. Sometimes I get in a little late. Just goes a little late. You know, it's farming stuff is all. It's not all set in stone. You gotta watch the weather constantly. It's just one of those things. Yeah. Alright. I'm gonna let you go with this one and upload these two videos, and we gotta keep our eyes out for what's going on in the world. The world is always an eye-opener every day. Every stinking day, there's something going on that I probably will not like or not be happy about. You know, it is what it is. Oh, before we go, let's talk about Bigfoot. You know, they have had Bigfoot sightings in New Hampshire. They have. But the thing about people in New Hampshire is they're generally tight-lipped. You know, zip it. Generally tight-lipped. Anyway, you're not going to see a lot of reports about Bigfoot in New Hampshire. But there have been sightings of Bigfoot in New Hampshire. And there's no reason for there not to be honest with you. I would think there would be Bigfoot all over New Hampshire and Maine and Vermont. You know, they've had some sightings in the Bridgewater Triangle area there in southeastern Massachusetts. That's kind of like right near Rhode Island. Yeah. There's been Bigfoot sightings around here. I saw a werewolf, as all of you should probably know if you watch this video for long enough. I did see a real werewolf. I mean, it was incredible. I'll never forget it. Never seen a Bigfoot, but I had a fellow come tell me about seeing a Bigfoot one morning, drinking his coffee. But that's another story. I'll see you guys later. Be good.